Full challenger mode, Daniel. How you doing today?
All is good in the hood, man. It's been a
All is
pretty
good.
long day, all in all. Had some casting earlier on for a bit of CS:GO, and been sorting out some things with some PUBG tournaments we're running in South America for the amazing people over at HP Omen and Nvidia. But you know, late night now, get to sit back and chill with my main man, Wild Bill TV.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited that we're doing this second episode. For those of you who were here for the first one, it's been a little while. It's probably been about maybe 3 to 4 weeks now. So it's definitely been some time since our first one. But I'm excited for this one, and hopefully we have them more frequently in the future. But I know with
Yeah,
our schedules, you're always busy. I've been pretty busy, so it's been rough to get the second one in.
well, I mean, I've been, yeah, it's been pretty manic the last couple of weeks for me, to be honest with you, between Oslo and Stockholm and South America, back to Sweden, all good in the hood. But then it's not just me who's like, jaunting off all over the world, is it? It's Mr. heading to TwitchCon.
That's right. Yes, I will be heading to TwitchCon. Not this weekend, obviously. Next weekend, whenever it starts, leaving Friday. For those of you who are wondering, will I be streaming IRLing? Yes, I will be doing some IRL streams from TwitchCon. I don't know how long they will be, but should be interesting. We'll see. I can't wait to meet a lot of people.
It's going to be pretty amazing. I'm
Yes.
not heading over this year, but
Yeah, I know. I wish you were coming.
no, it would have been pretty cool to have come, but we've got Philip Hubner, who's the Challenger Mode head of business development, heading on over to meet up with a
Oh,
couple
I'm
of people.
gonna
So
have to
maybe
meet
I'll
up with
have to
him.
I have to hook you two up. Yeah,
Yes, I think that would be great. Um,
should be
Nazareth
good.
says, "Who's the old man?"
Say what?
Nazareth says, "Who's the old man?" in chat. So
Nazroth. Do
yes,
you want to know something interesting about Nazroth?
yes, let's hear it.
Nazroth is the aforementioned head of business development.
Oh, is this Philip?
It is. It's Philip
Ah.
Hubner.
Well, hello, Philip. Nice to kind of informally meet you. I will be heading to TwitchCon as well. That's what Daniel and I were just talking about. Maybe you and I'll get a chance to meet up.
Yeah, I'll have to hook the two of you guys up so you can say hello. It's all right, I haven't actually got your stream up, so I haven't
Wow,
got the
wow, wow.
Twitch chat in. How bad am I?
I know. How you gonna read chat from me? You
I don't know,
always you
man.
always read.
It's what I always do, isn't
I
it?
know.
But
Um,
no, it should be pretty good. It should be pretty good. We got
yeah.
two main topics that you want to talk about this evening. One which
Yes.
is perhaps more close to me, and the other which is a bit more close to you. Which one do you want to run with first?
It's up to you. I mean, the two topics that we are discussing right now is obviously the new Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and then Daniel would also like to touch on League of Legends. So it's up to you what you feel like you want to discuss first.
Well, let's kick off talking about COD because I mean
Okay.
it's been interesting depending on like who you speak to and what sort of information that you take in. I mean,
Yes.
most of the major news sources have been shouting about oh, the most broadcast, the most
Hmm.
viewed. They keep dropping this like $500 million figure and things about the
Yep.
game, which I think's obviously a significant number. I mean, to try and put this into perspective, $500 million in the first couple of days is higher than some of the top grossing movies of the last, couple of years.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean, just to put even a more crazy spin on that 500, million number, the articles and everything that I was seeing are saying that is through launch weekend. That's not even through the week of it being released. So $500 million in 3 days, it's pretty insane.
it's
Obviously
pretty
that's
insane.
worldwide. That's not just here in America or over in Europe or anything. That's 500 million worldwide, but it's still an insane number to hit in 3 days.
No, it really is. It really is. And I think it's sort of testament to a franchise that a lot of people were talking about maybe being a little bit wobbly. Because if you
Hmm.
consider the impact of Black Ops 3, and then
Yes.
prior to that, they had their World War II title. COD has had some sort of question marks over it over the last couple of years in terms of the sort of impact that the game had within the marketplace now. But I mean, it's fair to say that launch has been incredibly successful. I think one of the other things that has really stood out for it is the fact that this is probably the first COD game that's really broken through the PC market boundary as well. COD, of course, typically always associated with the console market, but
Right.
actually, there's been a huge number of people playing it on PC, largely because of not the actual specific game itself, but ironically the battle royale, which has been almost tagged on to it.
Yep. And I mean, that's something we covered in our first episode of this Wild Talk is the Battle Royale and how we thought that they could have sold the Battle Royale as a standalone game if they really wanted to. They could have. Now, as many people know, they did remove the single player from this Call of Duty, but they did that in order to add the BR. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. You always got three things with Call of Duty. You know, typically you got your single player, multiplayer, and then zombies. So they took the single player out, put Battle Royale in. But yes, no, I agree. I think that it's being played a lot more on PC because of the Battle Royale. If we didn't have that, I think it'd still be more of a consoles type of game. But I also have, just from talking to a few people and reading a few comments on Reddit, so everything that you read on Reddit is true. That this is that this is one of the better ports to PC than previous years of other Call of Duties. So that also is a big factor in the high number of PC gamers for
No,
COD.
I agree. I mean, you sort of, if you consider the fact that they've basically, made it a decent port over to PC, they've done it in the right form at the right time in terms of, releasing Blackout combined with Black Ops 4 in an era which is heavily BR orientated and dominant,
Yes.
and also creating a game which is frankly decent in a period where a couple of the other major BR titles have had a wobbly patch. I mean, in the
Mm-hmm.
last month and a half, you've had Fortnite release an update to their map and then have to pull it within 2 days later because it was just causing so many issues.
Yep.
And then the last patch from PUBG has been painful, to be honest with you. Utterly
Yes.
painful. I
Yes.
mean, there's not many people that won't say otherwise. Indeed, PUBG Corporation themselves made a big statement today about some of the issues that they've had with server performances, about the ranking system, which is
Yes.
perhaps not as ranked as they initially had claimed and whatnot. So, I mean, Black Ops has been dropped at a time where they literally all of the pieces fell into the puzzle quite nicely for them.
People
And
are looking for a new BR. They're sick of the standard of what they've had right now. We finally have a triple A developer making a battle royale game, and that's what people have been asking for the last few years. I mean, obviously, I don't want to go too far off into this because we talked about it in episode 1 about all the different BR games, but all of this started back with the first standalone BR, which was H1Z1, right? We had mods of other games that were
yeah,
battle royales, but ever since H1Z1, as it started picking up steam and that the game type became popular, they were always looking for that triple A company to create a BR game, and we finally have that, like you were saying, at a very perfect time where the Fortnite, patch that they had just a little while back was having issues. PUBG, of course, and I don't mean to always, rat on the game because it's been a favorite game of mine. The most, few recent patches have been pretty lackluster, and then on top of that, they did address some of the issues. And did you see their remedy? They're we're sorry. Here's what we're gonna give you because of our issues. They gave them a beanie, yeah, a beanie hat with headphones, and 20,000 battle points, which a lot of people are like, okay, that's kind of, for lack of better terms, bullshit, because every time you use your battle points to get a crate, it's always a locked crate.
yeah.
So that means they're just giving you more points to get their locked crate, so you have to buy a key to open that. Now, you can get an unlocked crate, so I don't want to say that it's always a locked crate, but more times than not, it seems that you do receive a locked crate.
I think I've got like 20 something locked crates in my inventory, which
Yeah.
I won't be opening.
Exactly.
But
And
on top
neither
of
do
that,
I.
I think I've got like 100,000 BP that I haven't spent. Because one
Yeah.
of the other things with it at the moment is, frankly, there isn't a lot to spend it on.
Nope, there really isn't.
I think I don't know. It was an interesting move by it.
It was,
that said,
yeah.
they got a lot. They've got a lot coming along with regards to PUBG in the next couple of months. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and let's sit and see where it goes. It's still the BR esports title.
It is.
Until Activision do something themselves in order
Which
to
I'm
change it.
hoping they do soon.
We'll have to see.
Yes.
I mean, from a tournament organizer's sort of perspective, Blizzard and Activision have an annoying habit of not doing things always perhaps in the interest of the game and the nature. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Something I was interested in finding out about was what your experience of it was in game. I spoke with a good friend of mine and a popular YouTuber about his experience of the game. I've not had the time to even download or play it yet.
Yeah.
So a lot of my information comes from either from a business perspective or a hearsay perspective. But I'm very interested to know what's been your take on the game, at launch.
So far, I mean, overall, perspective on it, I would say I'm enjoying my time with it. But I do have some issues. And again, this is just, my opinions, obviously, so people could agree with them or disagree with them. If you don't mind, I'd like to run through, all
sure.
three game modes and kind of give because I've played all three of them. And honestly, my favorite one at current, which I did not think it would be this way, is zombies. Okay. I've always liked the zombie game mode, from the previous Call of Duties, but I don't know, there's something about this one where the new map 9, where it's set back in like Roman times, is a great addition to the zombies world. I thought it was going to be weird at first because you have all these like gladiators running around and zombies that are dressed like Roman soldiers or whatever, and you have guns and I don't know. I thought it wasn't going to mesh together and not work, but it's actually the complete opposite. It's been amazing. It's one, visually very stunning. It looks very nice. But two, the Easter eggs they have in there, the way that you can beat the game. There is a final boss on all of the zombie maps, but on the level 9 map, is actually very interesting and very fun, and a lot of fun to actually play through. It doesn't just feel like you're sitting there for hours grinding out zombies to just die at some point. There actually is an end game to it, which I do like. So the zombies has been actually my favorite of the 3 game modes so far, which I thought would not happen. I figured it would be the BR, because that's been my genre for a while. Multiplayer is, your standard Call of Duty multiplayer. You kind of have the shit spawns where, why are they behind us already? Where, that's how every Call of Duty kind of is. But the multiplayer has been fun. They have rehashed some of their older maps from Black Ops 1 and 2. And I think there's a few from Black Ops 3. I never played that one, so I can't really speak to Black Ops 3 as much. But the multiplayer has been a lot of fun. Now, the one that I have the most issues with is the one that I thought I would like the most, which is Blackout, or the Battle Royale version of Black Ops 4. There are a few apparent issues, big things that need to be fixed. Is that a Red Bull? What is it? Oh, Pepsi.
I'm on Pepsi tonight.
Okay. Fortnite has emotes, so every game now needs to have emotes, right? So PUBG added them, and of course Black Ops.
I still have never used those emotes in PUBG, by the way.
Yeah, no. And of course, Black Ops added emotes. Blackout. And the issue right now with the emotes, and Treyarch has addressed this, and they said they're going to look into it and fix it. And I guess they really didn't take it into consideration, is when so obviously Blackout is played in first person, but when you do your emotes, it becomes a third person camera that goes above your head, so you can see yourself dancing, doing whatever, aka hide behind something and just hit your emotes to see the entire world in front of you.
You can third person it.
You can third person it in a first person game.
Horrible mistake. Wow. That's
now Treyarch, they have addressed it and said they didn't think it through. They didn't think it would be that way. Their actual statement that they released, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to read it.
Yeah, please, yeah.
They say, "We are aware that players have been able to use gestures, often referred to by the community as emotes, to peek around corners in modes where that can create an unfair advantage. We're currently working on an update that creates 2 systems for gestures, the default system that is now in game, and a competitive version that disables the free look and applies different camera settings to prevent using it around corners." So they are aware of it. They will be fixing it, but I guess it's something that they didn't take into consideration while making it. So a lot of times, I don't know if it's happened to me or not in game, but a lot of Reddit posts have shown, these emotes peeking things, and it's a pretty big thing, especially for a game that's trying to be the next, big esport competitor to PUBG or to Fortnite.
You can't have something like that. I mean, one of the other big criticisms that I've heard about the game is the netcode.
Yes, it's go ahead.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It is, and it's hard to compare it to, let's say, PUBG, because the games, they both have their own netcode issues, right? Or their lag, desync, whatever you want to call it. They both have their issues, but they both play differently. They feel differently in terms of those issues. PUBG, you know, and again, I don't want to talk too much about PUBG, but PUBG, like you're blatantly shooting at somebody, or even the better one for PUBG is I'm peeking you, I hide behind a wall, and then 10 seconds later, that's an exaggeration, but a few seconds later, now you are hitting me. That's their issues. Some of the issues with Black Ops or Blackouts seem to be kind of the same, but not as noticeable or as like intense, like where it's maybe just a half a second where you got behind that, or maybe just 1 second opposed to the 2 or 3 second delay that PUBG has. Now, I did read somewhere that the Blackout servers are running at a lower hertz or tick rate. I mean,
yeah, they're running at 10 tick at the
10
moment
tick,
in comparison to PUBG 60. And
Right.
to be honest with you, for if they have any intention of this becoming a competitive esports title, they need to, in the words of Samuel L. Jackson, you need to get them numbers higher. You know?
Yes.
Yeah,
they definitely have to, and I'd be curious to see what happens with the netcode if we get on a higher tick rate server. I mean, even if you doubled it and made it 20, obviously still not as good as some of other esports game standards. You think Call of Duty, or not Call of Duty, CSGO. They play on 128 tick servers. So, just doubling what we currently have in Blackout would be better, but it's still nowhere near a standard, if you want to call it, of other esports type games.
No, I think they need to get that figure like way higher. I'm thinking actually like, it needs to get up to the same sort of levels of 60 tick rate, much the same as PUBG is currently running at. Otherwise, it's going to have a knock-on impact in terms of its competitive nature.
Yeah.
The difference between good and great in something like any esports title, to be honest with you, something like that sort of netcode, that tick rate is what defines the difference between good and great.
Yep.
And that's something that they really need to look into. 0.1 of a second reaction speed differences are sort of swallowed up when your netcode's that kind of slow.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that they really desperately need to look into. And I've also seen several sort of highlights of the, as I like to call it, the Sanhok issue of where you're stood behind a wall and someone's shooting you, and you're like,
how are they even hitting me? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So one of the other things, obviously, in the beta, they had this problem where basically level 3 armor was ridiculous.
Yes.
Now, I've been told it's been tuned.
It has been, but they actually so the game released on Friday the 12th, and they did tweak it, but it still wasn't enough. They actually put out another patch, a little quick fix. It was either Saturday night or Sunday during the day, to kind of address the armor as well, because it was still a little just too much. People were just massive bullet sponges, and it's definitely been corrected, in my opinion. I've been playing more throughout the week than I was on the weekend, obviously because of my brother's wedding, but it was definitely an issue. I played a little bit on Friday, but the one thing I've noticed since they made that new patch on Sunday, or the quick fix or the hot fix, I don't see level 3 armor as much anymore. I felt like I was finding it more. Yeah. So
they've reduced the spawns. That's one of the things that they did do. They've reduced the amount that it's actually spawning. You do still find them in the crate drops, the streamer loot, shall we call it?
Yeah.
But they've reduced the naturally occurring bonus of it, or the natural occurrence of it around the map, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, it's still really pretty tuned.
It is, yes. I mean, they've fixed it, but I think armor in general really needs an overhaul. I don't know why it feels this way, but one of the biggest complaints during the beta, and in my opinion, is still an issue, is getting into gunfights. There really is no benefit to them, because say you get into a good fight, you destroy the guy's armor that you killed. He tagged your armor up to the point where it's almost completely destroyed and useless. You have nothing to grab off of that guy. There's no it's like it's not really worth, unless you just need some ammo or attachments. Maybe it's not really worth to risking your armor, because the armor does do a decent amount of bullet damage reduction,
Yeah, I mean
to
the
your
level
actual
three
player.
is
Yeah,
the level three is like 55% damage reduction.
yeah.
But on top of that, it also reduces the impact of like flashes, some of the other in-game effects and
Hmm.
whatnot. Hence, further adding to its ridiculous overpowered nature, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Like how the fuck a chest harness reduces the impact of being like sort of flashbanged. I'll never know, but
Call of Duty.
um, yeah, COD. That's it. It's
Yeah,
literally that, isn't it?
yeah.
It's COD for you, isn't it?
Yes.
But I think that's definitely something that you need to pick up. But as a tangent, actually, to move on from I've just been in a gunfight and I've shot someone down. I think one of the other criticisms that we had in the previous episode, and still seems to be an issue to an extent, is the way that you loot.
Yes, it is still very much so. Even though it is a pretty good, everyone's saying this is one of the better PC ports in most years, in the most recent years. The looting needs a complete overhaul. It really does. I mean, obviously, it's different in Fortnite, but a lot of people were very used to the PUBG style looting, where you hit your tab menu on your right hand side, you have your loot on the left hand side, you have everything that is on the ground that's in the player's bag, whatever you may have, and you can kind of do a little dance around that loot, right? You can W, move back and forward if you really want, so you're not standing still, because obviously in a battle royale game, standing still is like
Death.
almost an instant death for you, right?
Yeah.
So right now they kind of, Treyarch has kind of tweaked it a little bit, where you can AD a little bit, you can go left and right a little bit while looting, but if you go slightly off, then you have to reopen the bag up, because remember, you don't just hit tab to look at your inventory anymore.
You have to look down at the bag, press
click
F.
F. Yes. So I feel like they definitely need to bring tab looting. The current looting system feels like it is just strictly for consoles, obviously, right? Because a controller doesn't have a tab menu and all of that.
Yeah, ironically, I hear criticisms from the console brigade as well that also find it a bit shit.
Do they? Okay, I haven't played it on console, so I can't speak to that aspect. But yeah, I think the looting system needs a complete overhaul. Truthfully, at least for PC. I don't know about, again, can't really speak towards consoles, but yeah, in my opinion, that needs to be overhauled. Another thing that I was hoping would be different from the beta to the full release was I don't mean that this is going to sound very broad, but the graphics. So I mean that in the sense of spotting players, in my opinion, is very difficult. I feel like they chose a single color palette and they went with it. Everything on the Blackout map in most areas blends together. If you get into obviously one of the desert areas, everything is just orange or tan, and even players blend into the environment. Same thing with whenever you get into a forested area, everything is just green. There's no distinguishing, and I know kind of that's how it would be in real life, but other games do it differently, right? It's easier in a sense to spot players in PUBG, Fortnite, whatever, than it is in Blackout, in my opinion. Just everybody just blends in with everything. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would have to have some input from the chat or some other people that have played it. I know you haven't played it. But I've seen other YouTubers, or not YouTubers, Twitch streamers talking about it, and a few of my friends who actually play the game with me, they kind of agree that it's kind of a little harder, more difficult to pick out a player than it is in other BR games.
Yeah, and that's something that I've seen equally agreed with. I've got my other streamers on European times. Not your NA silly late hours times, and that feel a very similar sort of thing. It's really difficult to spot out people, and subsequently, how good you are at shooting becomes less of an importance if they've spotted you before you've seen them. However.
Yes.
The way that the tracer fire comes from the gun and being able to sort of follow that and read that has become the way, rather than spotting people outright, you just hide and wait for gunfights to kick off, and then how you swallow tracer fire, which then harks back into your I don't want to go into a gunfight because I'll lose my armor notion. Exactly. And subsequently you end up having a game which is very defensive. It's not very it's not very proactive in terms of, because it doesn't encourage fighting, and that's kind of the antithesis of what COD has always been about: fast paced, lots of action, go go go. And then suddenly they've created this battle royale genre where it's like, don't get your armor destroyed. It's better to sit still and hide than it is to be seen. And then it's like, well, hold on a second here. You know, this isn't the COD game that, you know, I bought into, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does, and I agree. I mean, I really do think it's more of a defensive battle royale, except for the very beginning. And the one thing that we talked about in the first episode is how there aren't a ton of places for you to land and get loot. So literally, you know, every area in a sense almost feels like a hot drop in a way, because no matter where you go on the map, I won't say 9, I'll say 8 out of 10 times you have another team with you, or if you're solo, you have other players there with you. Which brings me into my next thing is during the beta, I guess they had weapons, attachments, and all of that kind of loot jacked up, right? So you land, you were able to get a gun, attachments, meds, armor, whatever you need to have that fight, and it wasn't an issue. Well, we're back down to what it normally should be, and this is one of my biggest complaints about Blackout is I feel like I'm playing PUBG in the beginning of when PUBG first came out, where the loot spawns were just terrible. Like last night I was playing, I'm not even kidding, I ran through 3 at Array, which is like the big area with the satellite dishes on them. I ran through 4 of the little buildings that are, they're not little, but they're huts that are around the actual main building, and I walked away with just healing items, no guns. I had a grenade, and that was it. In the beta, that's completely different. In the beta, I walk away with 2 ARs, maybe a sniper rifle, which I'm not saying the loot should be the way that it was in the beta, but we need to have a little bit of an in-between. We're on 2 different, ends of like extreme here. We're in the beta, ton of loot. Right now where we're at, not as much, I mean, you can find loot, but you have to go to these crazy areas that are going to have,
multiple people
8, 10, 12 people at it, and it's only one of you going to come out with that gun, you know what I mean? So sometimes it doesn't make it worth it, but that's one of my bigger complaints.
Yeah, I totally understand. And like the reality is like fine tuning those kinds of things. I mean, the beta test for this game was what, a week and a half long?
I think it was a little bit longer on the PlayStation console than it was on PC. Console. I think right. PC only had 4 days.
4 days was it? So
I think, yeah.
I mean, that's no time.
Not really. No.
And it's worse still if it's everything's tuned up, because you never get to test the how things are. I mean, the very nature of what a beta test is kind of testing for these kinds of things. And if you get, I mean, you don't even need to have it as like a sort of an open beta. Even if you run it as a closed beta with a limited number of people, where you can sort of today we're going to have it on like ludicrous settings, and then tomorrow we're going to have it on like what we perceive to be the norm. What's the feedback from this? What do you mean you didn't find any guns? Okay, we need to tune that, we need to turn this up. Oh, armor's overpowered. All right, well, let's calm that down. Yada yada yada. These are the kind of things that should be done within the testing period. And yes, undoubtedly they were going to have closed testings things, but you don't get a true feeling of how something is until people are like, putting in the hours, putting in the days, putting in the numbers. And it seems a bit silly for them to be launching something which clearly has sort of imbalance issues, both in terms of armor, in terms of gameplay, in terms of itemization, from the very get-go, regardless of like, how great the game has been. And I mean, and that's one thing I did want to sort of pull back to. So they made 500 million in the first 3 days.
Right.
And as I said, that's an enormous success, some of the highest figures that they've ever had with Twitch and things. But I also made reference to the fact that people thought that this was becoming a dying game, Call of Duty. Now, interestingly enough, Black Ops 2 made 500 million in its first 24 hours.
Wow.
Black Ops 2 also made $1 billion in 15 days.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's very impressive.
And when you look at sort of numbers like that, it sort of begs the question about, is this? I mean, don't get me wrong. If in 12 days' time, or however long it's been since the launch, it has hit the $1 billion mark, you'd be like, oh, it's just as good.
Right.
But they're sort of, it's like,
Now, I would like to argue
Talking about
though.
how
Go ahead. Go ahead.
amazing talking about how amazing something is, we're not actually giving the whole picture. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, go on. I interrupted.
No, no, no. I kind of interrupted you. But I was gonna say though, I feel like back when Black Ops 2, when that game came out, I feel like Call of Duty wasn't like one of those dying franchises as people were saying that it was. It was still a very wildly accepted game. People loved it. I think it was the more current releases, after Black Ops 3, or I mean, like actually right after Black Ops 2 is when I think people started seeing a decline in terms of, storyline for single player, and then just in terms of like bugginess in games. I just put up the list right now, and you have Ghost, Advanced Warfare. Black Ops 3 was considered one of the better ones, but then you went back to Infinity War, which was bad. Even the Modern Warfare Remastered, I heard, got terrible reviews. People did not like World War II. So you have how many games after Black Ops? You have one, two, three, four, 5 games, which, over a period of time, that's potentially 6 to 8 years. I mean, one doesn't come out every single year. Sometimes it's like a year and a half of where it's like, oh my God, another shit Call of Duty game.
Yeah, well, Black Ops 2 was launched in 2012. So
Yeah.
it's, 6 years ago now.
6 years, okay.
And yeah, I think you're right. It probably was at its absolute peak and its heights then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you named the one that really hurt the franchise, which was their futuristic one, Infinity Wars or whatever the hell it was called.
Well, Advanced Warfare, and then Infinity Warfare was another big one that was just like, that was the whole wall running and your jetpack and all. It was just like, what are you guys doing?
I mean, yeah, it sort of lost its direction, if that makes sense. I mean, that said, I can understand the importance of like innovation, because one of the things with someone was saying to me was, yeah, the new COD title, yeah, I mean, it's just the same as all the others, isn't it? It's the same as FIFA, FIFA 2019. It's just the same as FIFA 2018, which is the same as FIFA 2017. Forza 4, did you play Forza 3? It's the same as Forza 3. It's just the graphics are like 4% better or something like that. And so I guess it does sort of like, poke around with that sort of nature of, trying to be innovative with terms of what they were doing, especially with, the sort of space wars for whatever the hell it was,
Yeah.
But, I mean, getting back to their roots and like trying to see how it can go and innovating in a different way, which is like bringing in an alternative gameplay style, for example, in this instance, Battle Royale. I don't think that's a bad nature or notion. We'll just have to sit and see how it fundamentally breaks down.
Yeah,
I mean,
go ahead.
Go on. No, go on.
I was gonna say I agree. I mean, with the whole innovative, trying to be innovative and whatever, it didn't really work out in some of those other games. But with them getting into the battle royale genre at the time that they're getting into it right now, I think is a very good thing for Call of Duty, and I think it's going to. One thing I think depending on how Treyarch and Activision want to go about this Blackout game mode, if they want it to be an esport, they can't do we're going to bring out another Battle Royale next year, and it's going to be so much better than Blackout. No, you can't do that. This is going to have to be, if they want it to be an esport, it's going to have to stick around like Fortnite has, like PUBG has, like H1Z1 did back in the day. Like, not even a Battle Royale game, but like League of Legends has, or like Counter-Strike has. Those games, Counter-Strike came out in 2012. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Go came out in either 2012 or 2013. Besides a few, they've redone some of the maps, some of the player models. It's still the same game from 2013. You know what I mean? For the most part, it's still the same game. They're not bringing out a new Counter-Strike every single year. So I feel like, again, whichever direction, Activision or Treyarch, whichever way they want to go with this Blackout, could be very, like, if they start doing a new BR every year, I think that's going to be bad for them. I don't think that's gonna work.
It's gonna be a challenge for them. That's certainly true. Yeah. I mean, COD, in terms of its sort of squad play tournaments, has been through the rigmarole in terms of how people have played it. And I know Activision obviously is still running a very successful sort of like COD World Championships and whatnot, based on the sort of the classic squad play. However, I think you're right in terms of how they're going to be able to do it with regards to Battle Royale. And it will be something that, you have to wait and see. Now, that said, something that they could do with it from from the perspective of like relaunching, is if they were able to keep Blackout in terms of how its gameplay works, and
Mhm.
then sort of sell like the next map, if that makes sense, or something, which, for, a company like Blizzard Activision isn't out of the realms of
No, yeah.
reasonability or possibility.
No, it's definitely not.
We're talking about the company that invented the World of Warcraft expansion, after all.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
what's that? You want to play the new expansion? Still got to go and buy the original games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm excited to see how it goes.
I am. I'm glad to have another player in the battle royale genre, and I'm hoping, from a business standpoint, no, don't mean to plug, but for Championship Arena, I really do hope that Activision allows, tournament organizers to set up our own private tournaments for it, because I think it's going to be, especially right now, it's going to pull in numbers that, PUBG is not doing right now. That Fortnite said, this is the hype right now, and I think that Activision and Treyarch would be, pretty stupid, I guess, for lack of better terms, to not allow that.
Well, I just got a text message here, and it says, "Don't hold your breath."
Wow, it's crazy they're listening in. Well, at least we got an answer.
I mean,
no,
we'll
but
wait and see.
no, I'm very excited for it. But the nice thing about Treyarch is I think they've been one of the better developers for the Call of Duty games over the years of Call of Duty, and they've been very vocal on where they plan on, what they plan on doing in terms of updates, and how they want the updates to to happen, when they're going to happen. They're on Reddit. They actually have an official Reddit account that responds to a lot of these threads. They have responses to that, the emote peaking that I was talking about. They actually post their own patch notes onto Reddit, which usually people would put it on Blizzard's site, and then someone would grab those and then put them on Reddit. No, Treyarch's putting them on Reddit themselves so people can see them. There's no, it's all transparent, which I think is a good thing. I think they're listening to their community, and that's a very big thing in terms of today. You have to be in touch with what your community wants, how the genre that you're in is evolving and going. You need to understand that, and I think they're looking, they're listening, they know it's their first one, and they're willing to learn. And I think that's gonna show at some point.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, you pick up on something which Blizzard, Activision, Treyarch are all absolutely renowned for and famous for, which is understanding community and communication.
Mm-hmm.
Over the history of a number of their major titles, COD obviously being one of them. But if you look into like sort of the Blizzard franchising, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, StarCraft, how they create communities, pull them together, keep them engaged, the love that they throw back, and just the general interaction that they have with them, is a real standout thing for them. That's the reason that Blizzard, Activision have people that are so loyal towards them as a brand. They've been through thick and thin with them. From a WoW point of view, you go through some of the best expansions ever into some of the shittest expansions ever, but then you're still playing. You're still logging on, you're still doing your thing. Hearthstone itself has been through a horrible couple of years, as the RNG elements of the game came to the stage where it became a mockery of what the very standpoint of the game was. But they pulled it back in, and it's still got its core, community, thriving through the assistance of the Blizzard community teams and their esports and whatnot. Yep. And I suspect that we're going to see a similar sort of thing come from Treyarch. They're after all involved in the family fundamentally, and when Big Brother acts a certain way, little brother tends to follow along.
That's right. And actually, since launch day, not counting today being the 18th, they have had a patch or like a fix or whatever to address issues that the community has brought up every single day. Well, not the 12th. 12th was the launch, but 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, and on the 17th, they had fixes that went out, updates, hot fixes, whatever that was being addressed, issues with crashes, bugs that were found, anything like that, they have addressed and done, which I think is amazing for a development team. I mean, kind of everything that you're saying. I mean, they've literally have not taken a day off, it seems, which is a good thing, not for them, But as you know, a consumer, for us, they're trying to improve our experience with the game and give us a great experience, so we keep coming back to Black Ops, and it's very apparent that that's what they're trying to do.
So do you want to hit the devil's advocate argument for that?
Sure, let's hear it.
How the hell are you launching a game which requires fixing every day, 5 days on the trot after launch?
Yeah, that's very true. You can look at it on both sides. You're right. There's no real argument back to that, because with the beta testing that you guys had, maybe you should have done more than one, or maybe it should have been more than 4 days long, or whatever it may be. Because to your point, why do you have 5 patches after launch day? Every single day.
I mean, I think we're sort of getting to the stage where things like this. I mean, there's the whole, don't buy early access, don't do this, don't do that sort of thing within the gaming industry at the moment. And I've heard arguments for both sort of sides of things. I'm not an advocate of buying early access or pre-ordering. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But that said. That said, I can sort of justify the flip side to it as well. But I do think things should be sort of tested. Mac in a Box says some bugs just aren't apparent until live. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing that should be picked up within an extensive beta test, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, there will be bugs. Yes, there will be things that you have to test. Challenge mode has been running for 4 years. We still find them occasionally. That sort of 1 in a million nuanced thing, which you're like, how the hell did we never discover that before? Of course, those things do come up, but 5 patches in 5 days is like sort of begs the question about what's going on.
Right, and one of the biggest things actually happening right now, and these 5 patches weren't just to Blackout, right? So this was to all aspects of the game, maybe multiplayer only, maybe zombie, whatever. But one thing that has been happening a lot on the PC end of things, when you get in a higher round in the zombies maps, there is a bug right now, or a crash, basically a failure that happens, and your game just locks up completely, freezes, and then you're done. You have to Alt F4 the game, and it's been happening a lot, actually. A lot of people are complaining about it. Well, it starts happening when you get up in like the 20 round levels. But see, the thing is, it doesn't always happen. Which is like yesterday, I played to round 47. I think it was 47, and I had no problem. I know Thing and Moose from my chat; those guys grind out like crazy. They've reached, I think, level 50 now or whatever, and they've had it happen on level 20, but then they've been able to go to level 50. Yeah. So it's really weird. Now, they did address an update in their October 17th update to the zombies mode that would fix stability issues, but that was for the consoles only, apparently. It wasn't for the PC version. I've been seeing some people saying I don't know how this would even happen, but they're like, oh, we think it was applied to PC as well. That's not how these builds work. But I have noticed yesterday I was able to play that many levels and have no issues, where previously I did. So
maybe the patch notes are incorrect.
Maybe, yeah, because it's not like you build one patch and it goes across all of them. That's not how it works. But no, yeah, so that was one of the bigger issues on launch. But I don't know. Again, from just playing yesterday, which is when the patch came out, it seems better.
Seems to be better.
But yeah.
And one of the annoying things with that sort of situation as well is the fact that the worst kind of bugs to fix are intermittent bugs. Right. If you've got something which I can repeat without fail time and time and time again. For example, in my situation, every time I try to get near a car with Wild Bill TV, I get run over. This is something that I can repeat time and time again.
This is in game, by the way. I have not hit this man in real life. I know he has the cast on his arm, but this is not me. I did not do that.
But yeah, I mean, if you got something that you can recreate time and time again, it's a lot easier to fix. But when it's an intermittent bug, it makes it much more of a problem. So we'll have to sit and wait and see how those kind of things come down. But I mean, at least they are communicating about it. At least they are fixing it. I just wonder how we're getting to a stage where big things, big games, big AAA titles are being released with some pretty bad bugs involved with them. I mean, for God's sake, if if General Motors were to launch a brand new car, okay, and like you know the uh, the engine wasn't tuned correctly, the windows broke every time you hit a curb.
Yeah.
The wheels fall off on a Friday if your name is James.
Yes.
It's like these are things that shouldn't be happening. And we're talking about a game that made $500 million. This is
in
this
3 days.
In 3 days. This is a big freaking budget title.
Yes.
Okay. It didn't cost a fraction of that to make the game.
No.
So
not at all.
So
yeah, it seems like it's happening more and more recently with AAA games. I mean, just games in general, but even AAA games, you expect to, not have those type of issues or bugs with the game. And obviously some of them are more so than others, but I don't know, maybe I'm just being nostalgic and always thinking that, the olden days were better, but I don't recall ever playing games, way back when, where there was just all of these crazy bugs that always happened, and you had to have 5 patches in 5 days to fix these issues. I mean, maybe it did happen, and I was naive to it, and I didn't really pay attention or see it. But it's definitely become more of a common occurrence, especially with more of a lot of early access games.
Back in the day, you used to buy a game and it was on a CD.
True.
If it wasn't right on the CD, it was fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I went into the shop and bought Final Fantasy VIII for PlayStation 1, and by the way, they'd launched the game with some get around breaking bug in it, which means that basically the game was gimped. Like a company like Square Enix, if they released something like that, would have just disappeared up their own ass, because no one would have bought Final Fantasy IX.
No, exactly.
Whichever title came afterwards. You had to get it fucking right. We used to do the testing, we used to put in the hours and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, like, it's a joke to think that we've got into this sort of era where, because everyone downloads it off the internet and everything's sort of like internet driven, yes, it gives us the power and the opportunity to patch. Yes, it gives us the power and the opportunity to update, add extra content and all of these kinds of things. But it also means that we're releasing games which are, frankly, not tested properly, and that people are using the first month, 2 months, year in some instances to actually like sort of beta test a game which should have been beta tested before.
Yeah, it is, and it's unfortunate that we're going in that direction, but it kind of seems like we are. Thing actually brings up a point in chat back to the zombies crashing. He says that crashing is most common on the PS4, and it's also confirmed that the crashing is more common when you're playing with 3 or 4 people, which I guess is kind of a good thing if it is confirmed that's happening. It's more or less than that intermittent thing where they're kind of starting to narrow down what's going on, which is good. And one good thing about the Call of Duty community is they're going to help. They bitch and moan, but you have a lot of big influential players in the Call of Duty community who are going to actually try to find these issues and recreate. All right, I did this and did this. Is this what made the game crash? And they're going to submit that to Treyarch or Activision or Blizzard, whoever they need to, the support team, and get it taken care of. That's one of the things that is, I mean, yes, the Call of Duty community does bitch and moan, but you do have a lot of big YouTubers or Twitch streamers that they do put in the time to find little intricate details about the game that will, in my opinion, help at some point down the line.
Of course it will. Yeah. But I mean, once again, it's beta testing.
Exactly, and that's what it is, and it shouldn't be happening. I'm not saying that it should happen, but I feel like hopefully some of these things will be found sooner than later.
Yeah,
with the community beta testing for Treyarch.
I mean, it's interesting you bring up on like sort of famous YouTubers, Twitch streamers and whatnot, and people that sort of push things. Well, we'll go off tangent for a second to go and talk about our other favorite battle royale. But did you see Wacky Jackie's report on the new ranking system or the tier scoring system that you get in PUBG?
I unfortunately did not get to watch it yet. I saw that it was posted. It's in my watch later queue right now.
In which
but
case,
I didn't get to see it just yet. I know. I was actually busy at work, and I didn't get a chance to slack off and watch the video. Yeah, I was busy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to ruin it for you because I want you to go and watch it.
And I do want to watch it now. I don't mind if you want to talk about it real quick. I mean, obviously, I won't have much input on it, but if you want to share part of the video.
The reason I want to bring it up is because I think if we do it in a week's time, it would be old news, if that makes sense. But,
yes.
So when it first got announced, it was like, work your way from like, silver all the way up to Grandmaster or whatever the maximum title is. Get yourself this cool badge, which looks pimp as fuck, whoa, all the good news. Mm-hmm. Only 100 players will become Grandmaster, I think was a direct quote.
Okay.
Turns out, Wacky Jacky did it in 69 games over the course of 24 hours actual playing time. By never picking up an item, never shooting a gun, and just playing to the late game.
What? Yeah, I see the title of the video, AFK Grandmaster Exposing the Ranking System of PUBG. Wow.
I mean, it is, credit where credit's due, but he was obviously playing on his main account and noticing that the sort of the LP gain that you get seems to be fairly linear. And so he tested it to the extreme, which was basically he played Sanhok only. He dropped in solo. He would pull his shoot immediately, wait for the circle to form, at which point he would nosedive into the very middle of the first circle.
Okay.
He would lie on the floor next to a tree or a bush and AFK.
And he became Grandmaster in 69 games.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just, I mean, I know the episode isn't supposed to be talking about PUBG, but I mean, just things like that blow my mind. Is how is that not tested? How is that not thought of? That the ranking, the way that your elo or whatever they have it, because I haven't really looked much into the PUBG ranking, but your elo, whatever it is, how does that? I don't know. How does that happen?
Yeah, how does that happen? And based on what they've said as well, is like the notion was it was to create some sort of like form of ranking to represent the best and the worst. But the reality is that as long as you don't hot drop into zones and get shot in the first sort of 10, 20 people, you will make Grandmaster.
Okay, great.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
So subsequently then ceases to be cool anymore or something worth having. It's like a Michael Kors handbag for women. Do you know, you go back 10 years ago, they were cool.
They were cool.
Every fucking person's got them. There are more Michael Kors handbags out there in the hands of women than there are bloody Walmart plastic carrier bags. Do you know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. I mean, I was very excited for when I found out they were bringing a ranking system. Again, I didn't get to. I truthfully have not played PUBG in a while. I've been playing a few other games, but I need to watch the video. But that is ridiculous. Because the ranking system was a step in the right direction where, okay, now you're going to be queued with players that are in your skill rank. And you're going to start, one, if you're a better player, it's going to be more challenging for you and you're going to be able to grow and get better with the game. And two, if you're not that great of a player, okay, now you're not going to be ranked with people that are Grandmasters and get destroyed. But that seems to be nothing. Not the case.
That's not how it works.
That's not the case.
Fact, the other piece of statistics that Wacky Jacky did in his video was the fact that he took the average rating of all the players in all of his matches statistically, and it transpired that they were basically all the same rank as well.
Oh, okay.
So
there you go.
It doesn't work in every single sense of the word. So yeah, it's just painful. I mean, my favorite one about it was, so firstly, he got a victory in his 69 AFK games, by the way. GG, Wacky Jacky, doing a Daniel there. Yeah, which I appreciate. But the other one was that in the one game that he did go out in like 58th place or something like that, because someone found him early on, he still got a net increase of LP.
What? 58th place is not a great place out of 100. You didn't even make half yet.
Yeah.
You weren't even better than 50% of the entire lobby. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But we will see.
Very ridiculous, yeah.
Hello, Trevor, and nice to see you too.
What's going on, Trev?
Yeah.
Sup,
Trev.
Yeah, sup. No, yeah, that is a good point. We did go a little off tangent there with PUBG, but I feel like we could always there's always something to discuss about PUBG, and there's always going to be something to talk about instead of we'll say talk. Yeah.
And many other games, because I mean that was the other big sort of topic of the evening. Right. Something which I perhaps wanted to bring up, which was League of Legends.
Yeah.
Now, don't worry, guys. No need to sort of like disappear from the stream. I'm not going to talk about the game itself. Okay. What I'm going to talk about is the curiosities of draws. So, for those of you that aren't following League of Legends or whatnot, at the moment is the League of Legends World Championships for Season 8 happening over in Korea. South Korea, that is. North Korea, apparently not such a big fan, but happening in South Korea. And over the course of the last 2 weeks, they've had the sort of the group stages, and we're going to be jumping on into the quarterfinals now. Now, one of the ways that they have formulated the quarterfinals is that they took the 4 top teams from the 4 groups, so the 4 first place teams, and then the 4 teams that finished in second place, and the 4 first teams would be split over 4 lobbies and then matched up with the 4 others. And it's transpired that the 2 best teams in the tournament by some significant margin have found themselves on the same side of the draw. Not only that, one of the other good teams from the second places has also found itself on the good side of the draw. So you could argue that 3 of the top 4 teams in reality are on the left-hand side of the brackets, and the right-hand side of the brackets is looking a little bit lighter, you could say. Now, so you've got Katie Rolster from Korea, Royal Never Give Up from China, Invictus Gaming from China, all on the one side of the draw. Okay. They've been matched up with the European G2 side. G2's up against RNG, which won last year's World Championships. I think it's fair to say probably the big favourites for the tournament. On the other side, you've got the Cloud9 team from America, who are going to be facing off against Afrika Freaks, which are Southeast Afrika Freaks, not from Africa, from Southeast Asia. And then you've got Fnatic up against the Chinese squad, Edward Gaming, who've been looking pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you. Okay. And the reason that I think it's quite an interesting circumstance or topic of conversation, I guess you could say, is the fact that there's a very good chance that the semi-finals on the one side of the bracket might end up being Europe versus America. And in that instance, we'll actually end up having a non-Asian team in the final of the League of Legends World Championships for the first time since Season 1.
Wow. And do you have any idea when Season 1 was? I mean, I know it was a while ago, but...
Yeah, 2010.
Wow.
It was played at DreamHack Winter 2010. It was Fnatic versus... God, who are they up against? I want to say Against All Authority, or it might be an MYM.
Okay. But, so for 8 years, there has been at least an Asian team in the finals.
No, both teams have been
both teams. Both teams. Okay. So there's a potential for that. Okay, good. All right, well, that's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. But the reason I wanted to bring it up was actually not because of the actual teams or the game even, but I wanted to talk about how seeding of tournaments, tournament formats even,
yes.
And how you go about sort of putting it together. Because this is something that you can correlate with a little bit more. Not being the LOL boy. I mean, you are a LOL boy, but not from the League of Legends perspective. Okay, you're also a bit of a Ruffle boy. But,
okay.
Anyway, like I wanted to talk about tournament formats and things. So when you end up in a semi-finals in a quarterfinals where one side of the bracket is just so much more weighted than the other, do you think that there is for want of better words, a bit of a fuck up in your format?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, so the one thing I think about when it comes to brackets, and this might be, I always think about, and I know you probably don't even ever really do this, but March Madness here in America in March, college basketball, one of the biggest things is our March Madness, which is college basketball teams that play against each other for the national championship. And you sometimes see a lot of the brackets when they start breaking down to getting into the semifinals, the quarterfinals, whatever, the quarterfinals to semifinals, where one bracket side is a lot heavier. Now, and I don't think this will really ever happen in gaming and esports. And it can, but in basketball, for example, there are some times where that right side or whatever side is not as heavy, it's not as good, where they have those upsets, and it's thrilling and amazing to watch. But typically, you have the one side that just crushes. Now, back to your original question of, do I think it's a little fucked up if that happens, or is there something wrong with the format of why it's leaning that way? Yeah, I mean, honestly, yes, because the whole point of me saying the March Madness thing is sometimes those upsets happen in the real world, in the sports world. I don't know many times where the underdog upsets in an esport, competitive gaming setting, where the underdog ever does the upset. So it's just going to, in my opinion, and again, I don't watch it league, but it's probably just going to be blowouts, which are not going to be fun to watch. I mean, those games are supposed to be exciting games leading you up to this amazing finale, and nobody wants to watch someone get stomped all over on just, they walked right into the finale. You know what I mean? So, into the finals. I don't know.
So that's interesting what you just put up there, because weirdly enough, with the way that the seeding has actually gone, Katie Rolster up against Invictus Gaming, it's going to be a great game.
Yeah. Okay.
Royal Never Give Up, last year's world champions, up against G2, the I guess you'd call it sort of the favorite team of Europe. Okay. It's going to be an absolute stomp. Okay. But the Europeans will get their hearts up. Do you know what I mean? Okay.
Yes.
And, RNG, the number one seeds, will rattle on through. But over on the other side of the draw, Africa Freaks versus Cloud9, it's going to be a super close and interesting game.
Really?
And if Cloud9 get through and then face off against the winners of Fnatic and Edward Gaming, which on paper should be Fnatic, we get this amazing NA versus EU sort of semi-final where one of the teams will be going into the final. I mean, there's some great stories all within it. My only problem is that we're going to get to the grand final, and the grand final on paper should be RNG versus Fnatic, and RNG are just going to kick the shit out of a European or American squad, and is part of sort of seeding and draws not to try and set up the the best possible final, or am I making an error here?
No, I don't think you are. I don't think you're making an error. I really don't.
I mean, if you look at something like Wimbledon, okay, you have Roger Federer on one side of the draw, and you have the Spanish guy with the big arm. What's his name? Nadal. There we go. Yeah, okay. Rafa Nadal on the other side of the draw. And in an ideal world, they all win all of their games, and we have a Nadal versus Federer final. There's probably some other tennis player that I've forgotten. I'll level with you guys at home. I don't watch much tennis. When you're this white, you don't go outside that often.
Oh my God.
But you have that sort of circumstance where people always push in towards getting the very, very best final.
Right.
And I know that Duncan Thorin Shields has talked about, how you should seed things and how different formats lead to different results. But I think the simple reality of it is that, I guess having an imbalanced sort of sides, to use your basketball sort of notion, does lead to some sort of exciting results. But do we not have a situation where ultimately we're aiming towards having the very best final that we can create?
I mean, you do raise a good point. Yeah, I mean, what's more, I guess exciting or fun to watch is, do you want to see the games leading up to the final being amazing, or do you want them to be one-sided? Then the final is going to lead up to that. Just, all right, these two teams stomped their whole way through. They're in the finals, and this is our amazing game that we've been waiting for and that we won. And it's situational, I guess. I mean, it really depends what you like the best. Obviously everybody wants to see an amazing final, right? But I feel like sometimes the games before the final, and I know this might not make any sense, but if you have all right, so a few years ago, or let's just use the NBA for an example. Trevor brings up a good point, and we briefly touched base on this whenever we talked about super teams in episode 1. Is in the NBA, it's for the last 4 years has been the Golden State Warriors versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's not exciting unless you're a Golden State fan or a Cleveland fan. So for me personally, watching from the outside into the NBA, because Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we don't have a basketball team. So I personally would like to see some good games leading up to the finals, because I could give two shits about the finals because I know it's going to be Golden State and Cleveland again. But if we get some good games leading up to the finals, hey, one of these teams might beat Cleveland or Golden State. So it's very, I guess, situational on how you want it to play out. Like, again, I don't watch League of Legends a lot, so these teams that you're talking about, I think it would be exciting if we have I would be cool with the way the seeding is right now if we can get an NA versus EU final. If we haven't had that in 8 years, that's a story. That's amazing.
I mean, I'm fine
if it can happen.
Far East versus non-Eastern.
And non-East. You'll even take that.
Yeah, I'll even take that, and which potentially could happen. Maybe maybe you're right. Maybe it is going to be more exciting. I guess I've always got that worry about the final just being a bit meh. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I mean, that said, if you go back to like not last year, but the year before, the grand final was a 3-0. The final the year before that was a 3-0 as well. So, like the reality of it is that sometimes even if you have the two best teams in the world, it might be a 3-0 anyway. Might be
very true.
It doesn't overly matter. But
yeah, you always want your final to go as many games as possible. If it's best of 5, you want to pull out, as far as you can go with that. So 3-0s, again, if it's a team that you're rooting for, they're not that fun.
No,
I mean, even if it is a team you're rooting for, you want them to win, but nobody wants to see just a stomping all the time. You want to see a well-fought, hard game, a well-earned game, and sometimes you don't get that.
No, I know what you mean. But I just thought, I mean, with the seeding coming out and the way that it was panning out, I just thought it was an interesting storyline, all in all.
No, it definitely is. Yeah.
So to tie this one back in then to Championship Arena, FYI, boys and girls, Championship Arena coming up. When is it?
This Saturday, the 20th, 2 days from now. You have a shocked look on your face. This, yeah. No. That wasn't shock. That was I know exactly about that face.
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah.
Of course he says checking his diary.
While you're checking your calendar right now, I do want to say this. While this has been going on, Treyarch actually just put out a tweet that tomorrow, being the 19th, they're going to release a substantial update to Black Ops 4 with a host of improvements, fixes, and additions across all modes, including new stability fixes for zombies. And they're also going to kick off their first double XP weekend. They said they're going to release more details soon. So I'm very curious to see what a substantial update is going to... what it's going to entail, because substantial is a big word. Substantial to me means a massive fix. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a huge overhaul of everything that we want. I know this is kind of leading into what we talked about earlier. Great, another update, 6 updates in 7 days, but I personally am excited to see what's coming in the update.
No, I think it's honestly credit where credit's due to them. They've got $500 million and a week's worth of beta playtesting.
Yep.
GG. If you want to know how to go into business, this is how it is.
Yes.
Get people to pay for your beta test, and then if they still enjoy your game, you've done pretty nice.
It's a PUBG model. It's working for them. Well, it's starting to die out for them, but it worked for them.
Certainly does. Easy to do it when there's no competition. Easy to do it when there's no competition. True. That is for sure.
Good.
What you got? So aside from the fact that we've got Championship Arena coming up this coming weekend on Saturday,
which you will be at, you will be available for. We will discuss that. Are you going to be available or no? Do you have something double booked?
I think I might be okay, but I think it's only through pure luck, if I'm honest with you.
Pure luck. All right, we can talk about that later then.
in theory, I was doing something on Saturday, but it's been cancelled. So
Oh, okay.
amazingly, I think I've dodged it through
Good.
sheer bloody luck.
Is that a
Um,
good thing? I guess. I mean, for us at Championship Arena, we love it. We always love having Daniel as our co-host when we do
um,
these tournaments. So,
means I can come and cast.
that's right. If
Um,
anybody here watched, this is no disrespect to the three that did the casting for our September tournament, but the casting was, from what I've heard and from what I've seen a little bit of, was not the most robust. But yeah, we'll be back in October in 2 days for your regularly scheduled casting that hopefully will be better
well,
than what we had in
I was
September.
in where was that? I was in Oslo, wasn't I?
Yes, and I was
So
at a
I was
wedding.
away. Yeah, I was away in Oslo, and the day that the tournament went on was like the sort of the party night, the Saturday night.
Ah,
They had some DJing playing music at decibels, which you shouldn't listen to. So it was Thing and
Jonas and
Jonas.
Jag.
Yeah, that were doing
Yeah,
the hosting and the streaming, the casting. I jumped in and did the last game for them, and
which I heard was a big improvement from the first two.
well, I went back and watched the VODs. If you guys want some entertaining
I
evening, go
watched.
and compare game 1 and 2 to game 3.
Yeah, I watched 5 minutes of I think game two,
All
and
right.
I don't mean 5 minutes like where people exaggerate. They watch 30 seconds. Oh, I watched 5 minutes of it. I watched 5 actual minutes of the VOD, and I don't know if I know Thing was doing the observing more. I don't know if he was doing it at this point or if they didn't, whatever. But it was watching RJ run around. He swam for about a minute and a half of it, and then they just kind of watched him run around a little bit, go loot houses, and there was legitimately 5 words said in that 5 minutes. It was so much dead air, and I was just like, oh my god, like it was literally just him swimming, and you heard the water, like him just swimming, and I was like, I mean, I know there's not a lot going on, but look at somebody else, like
Yeah.
anybody else. But no, yeah,
Yeah.
overall, I
So,
mean,
well,
they
we
were
get
their
the
first time, right?
it's the dream team next time,
That's
man.
right, baby, the dream
Yeah.
team.
Oh yeah, we're getting on the old Wild Bill TV and the Simo Daniel.
Yeah, buddy, we are the dream team. If you guys aren't aware, we are the next big casting duo that are coming up in the scene. So just remember that.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, no word, no comment.
yeah. I'm definitely not casting PUBG tomorrow with the name is Toby.
Oh wow.
Oh man, busted! I'm cheating on you.
We'll
But
talk about that offline.
yeah, okay. Better get the lube.
Yeah. Oh
But
my lord.
yeah, we got that coming up this weekend. What
Yeah.
else? What
What
else
about
you got
challenge
going
mode? You
on?
guys have anything going on? I mean, you guys always have
Uh,
stuff going on, but I'm talking
so
about
we got
something big.
um ah
I don't mean to put you on the spot. Sorry. I know we didn't. Really.
I mean, NEL's just been launched in Scandinavia, so we've got
Yeah. Which is
National Esports League
that's so
running
yeah.
in Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Norway, where the top winners of each of the top divisions in all the games go through to the Nordic Championships from DreamHack, which is like a $100,000 tournament, I think it is. We've also just announced that PUBG is going to be coming out for that, and in light of the other big Nordic PUBG tournament that's not really happening at the moment, that's probably a good thing. But let's not speak ill about them. But
Nope.
yeah, we have got another really big bit of news, but I can't tell you yet.
That you can't say, "Hey, I have a surprise for you," but I can't tell you.
Yeah,
That's not
I,
fair. I don't
I,
know.
I don't know, man. Is
We
it
have
your
a lot.
birthday?
Wait, can I know if it is my birthday?
Yeah, is it your birthday?
No, it's not my birthday. I
No,
wish
it's
it
not.
was my birthday.
Gotta fucking wait then.
Fucking, I have a long way to wait then. December 27th is when I'll find out. Everyone's going to know
Wow,
by
man.
then, but I'm finding
Oh,
out
God.
on the 27th.
They should know in the next couple of days. So
Damn. All
that's
right,
all
well, I'm
gonna be
excited.
good. December
Um,
the 27th. So I got to ask the question, growing up as a kid, were you always like, here's your birthday present and Christmas present combined to one because people were cheapskates?
No, and everybody asks that question, and my mom is an amazing woman. She always made sure that, say everybody got, just for an even number, 5 presents on Christmas. I had my 5 presents on Christmas, and 2 days later, I got, 2 or 3 more, or however many it was for my birthday that year. So no, I never got screwed on gifts. It was always she wanted everybody to open the same amount on Christmas. Oh no.
Well, man, you're lucky that you got your mum, because like I would have totally like sort of skimped on that. You know?
Yeah, no,
you
everybody
some more presents tomorrow, man. Calm the fuck down, you know.
Yeah, no, everybody says that. They go, "Wow, I can't believe she actually did." No, yeah, it was. Yeah, we all opened the same amount of gifts on Christmas. So yep.
Well, there we go. That's Bill's mum. You know, incredible in every way,
Incredible
shape,
woman.
and form.
Well, form.
Well, I guess. Everyone asks me that, and it triggers me. When's things?
Yeah, when's I don't know. I feel like I don't know when his birthday is. I guess around Christmas.
22nd.
Oh, the 15th. Okay.
That's like ages before.
Yeah.
For
the 1,000th time, yeah. I should probably know that.
I haven't even like bought my Christmas presents by that stage anyway.
Yeah, Amazon 2-day shipping. You don't need to buy them by then. You're good.
My father has historically always bought his Christmas presents on Christmas Eve every single year since I can remember. Yep, 24th of December goes out.
You just get whatever's left on the shelves.
Yeah, just whatever, you know. Some of the stuff's already on sale. Yeah. I mean, it's genius at the end of the day.
It is.
But
yeah. I mean, in terms back of into our episode here.
Sorry.
Yeah, we went off on a tangent pretty far there. Did you have anything else that you'd like to editing? Did you have anything else you'd like to discuss?
No, not really. I think we kind of like sort of picked up on it. I mean, one thing I did want to say, to the audience, people watching in Twitch chat now, indeed ones that are part of Bill's Discord channel, which you can find in the link below, I think. And anyone who is later watching this on YouTube, please get in touch with us and tell us like some of the things that you'd be interested in us like sort of touching base on. Bill's fairly on board with reading up on things, plays a lot of game, obviously a popular streamer in his own right. I've been working in the industry for 15 years, across multiple continents, multiple different games and franchises. And we're very interested to hear like what sort of perspectives you want us to talk about as well. So if you guys have got anything that you're thinking about and you're like, hey, I'd be really interested to know what these two old bastards think about XYZ, hit us up, let us know, and we'll try and plan it into an up and coming show.
Yep, definitely. And like I said in the beginning of this, we'd like to make this a little more happen more often than it is right now. We're probably about 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks since our last show. We're hoping, I don't know about you, but I'd like to do at least every 2 weeks, if not every week.
I'd like to try and get them done weekly.
Yes, yeah.
And obviously schedules will interfere with that, but we're going to try and get them done every single week. So if you're not already following on the channel, click the follow button, or you can go and follow Bill on it's at Wild Bill TV or / Wild Bill TV on YouTube if you want to watch the VODs afterwards.
Yep, that is correct. So everybody, thank you guys very much for tuning in for the second episode of Wild Talk. I've been your host, Wild Bill TV, with my beautiful co-host, Daniel. And everyone, stick around. Even though this is ending, I will be going into streaming. Most likely going to be playing Black Ops, but I am going to take just a short break. I'm going to put everything down, and then I will be right back. Give me like 5 minutes or so, and we'll be back with just the regular stream.
Yeah, back with the beta testing for COD.
That's right. Let me switch to this scene right here. Daniel, say goodbye.
Goodbye, Daniel.
All right. There we go with that. I'm going to, like I said, guys, give me like 5 minutes. Just going to take a quick break. I will be right back, guys.